We will now turn to the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Johnson, a distinguished lawyer, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. This is an important hearing, and this subcommittee is, as you noted earlier, is having its second hearing about the importance of a diverse federal judiciary. As Ms. Braceras said so well a few moments ago, the black robe of all judges holds important symbolism. I mean, regardless of a judge's immutable characteristics or philosophy, we all believe in our system counts upon them to be fair and impartial and objective. And the other symbol of our profession is Lady Justice, of course, and that's the symbol. She wears a blindfold to show the importance of the application of the law without corruption or favor or greed or prejudice at all. So hopefully all of us would aspire to appoint judges to the bench that it doesn't really matter what their background is, as long as they're fair and impartial in the application of the law. That's the idea. But as we all know, sadly, a lot of that is being jeopardized by politics today. And that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in, is that more and more of the American people are losing faith in the institution of our system of justice. And that's of great concern, I know, to all of us. I was a federal court litigator for 2 decades prior to my election to Congress. And some of my former colleagues at the bar believe, as do many Americans, that leading Democrats on Capitol Hill, for example, not all, but some, have used the cause of diversity to politicize the judicial selection and confirmation process. I want to echo what's been touched upon previously here today, that some Democrats have repeatedly opposed women and minority nominees to the bench just because they were chosen by Republican presidents. And it's a vicious and personal opposition sometimes. We mentioned today Justice Clarence Thomas. Ever since his nomination to the Supreme Court, he's been unfairly targeted and maligned in so many ways. Senate Democrats later filibustered President George W. Bush's nomination of Miguel Estrada to the D.C. Circuit Court. We've talked about that. Ms. Braceras mentioned today the leaked memo by Senator Durbin, who stated that Mr. Estrada was, quote, especially dangerous because he's Latino, unquote. More recently, Democrats opposed President Trump's diverse judicial nominees. I mean, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, only the 5th woman to serve on the nation's highest court, received exactly 0 Democrat votes, as was mentioned today, during her confirmation, even though she was rated well qualified by the ABA and has impeccable character and credentials. And during her earlier confirmation of the 7th Circuit, we all remember Senate Judiciary Committee ranking member Dianne Feinstein outrageously maligned her Catholic faith by pronouncing to Justice Barrett that the dogma lives loudly within you. So much for the ban on religious tests. I just have a couple moments. I want to ask Ms. Braceras, what do you make about the Democrats' consistent opposition to diverse nominees selected by Republican presidents? You've elaborated a little bit on that this morning, but I wonder if there was anything more you wanted to add on that.
Well, we can't both say that we want to increase the diversity of the federal bench and then reject nominees who would do that. If diversity truly is a paramount concern, then we need to accept it in all its forms.
Can you think of any other recent examples where some Democrats, let's say in the U.S. Senate, resisted and unfairly maligned a diverse judicial nominee that President Trump nominated?
Sure. Well, we talked about Judge Naomi Rao a few moments ago. She's one of the first ones that come to mind, particularly because, like Miguel Estrada, her qualifications were so impeccable. And she would have did bring diversity to the court on which she was appointed to. It was a historic nomination. And, it's sad to me to see that people who purport to want to diversify the federal bench only want to do so when those diverse nominees come from their party. It'd be nice to see them support them across the aisle. Let me take a moment to say that I know that the Hispanic National Bar Association has been particularly good. I'm not quite so sure about recent years, but I know that overall their track record of supporting nominees across the aisle has been pretty good. And I'm proud of that. But that's not necessarily true for the politicians who are voting on these nominees.
I've only got 20 seconds left. I'll just say, I'm going to state the obvious, that I think all members of this committee should aspire to getting us back to the point where we nominate people on their merit and not necessarily on all these other things and their politics and everything else. I don't know how we put that genie back in the bottle, but I hope one day we can, so that we can restore the American people's faith in our institutions. I'm out of time and I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chair.